Hi, I'm Daphne from Daps Makeup, and I am excited to talk about the new Hourglass palettes. Traditionally, I think we call them the holiday palettes, but to be honest, they came out pretty early this year, so I wouldn't call them, I don't know if we can really be calling them holiday palettes, but let's call them by their official name, the Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked palette. I know, a mouthful. But I love these palettes. I love the Hourglass formula. I buy these palettes every year. Now, no surprise, every year I always buy the deep palette. Now in the first one that they ever came out, they just had a universal one. I do own that. But after that debacle, they've learned since to make a fair, medium, and deep palette. So every year I always just buy the deep palette. But this year, I bought both the medium and the deep, aka the Swan and the Fox palettes. You might think I'm crazy for buying the medium, aka Swan palette, but I couldn't help myself. There was something I found both of them to be very intriguing to me. The shades, the tones that they chose for this year, and just something in my heart just told me, I think I can pull them both off. But did I? That's what you're gonna watch this video to find out. Is Fox as deep as they advertise? And can a deep skin tone person pull off the Swan? We're gonna learn today. So I ordered these from Hourglass. Now they will be coming to Sephora in a couple of days, but I wanted to get this video out ahead of the launch at Sephora so you can get a heads up as you're trying to make a decision to buy or not to buy. Because it's tricky buying from Hourglass. One, the wait. It takes a little bit longer than usual, I feel, with the standard shipping to get products from them. And you can't return them if you touch them. Like, I have to tell you, as I was waiting the long week for my product, I was kind of questioning myself, oh my God, why did I buy the Swan? Is this going to show up on me? Should I return it? I was debating if I should even touch it, use it, but I pushed through. I used it. I'm happy I did. Just on a side note, you do not have to do this, but if you do buy from Hourglass, you can, for an extra $5, buy the gift box. I did, just because I actually like the artwork of the deer palette. Now, I did not buy the deer palette. That's meant for fair skin tone individuals, and I know that was not going to work for me at all. But I did like the gift box. So just so you know, if you're curious what the gift box looks like, it looks like this, and then it has beautiful tissue in here, and you can really hold a good amount of stuff in here. So I think this is great for storage, or if you want to use it as a gift box if you're giving to somebody else. So just on a side note, if you're curious about the gift box, I think that's just a nice little touch. When you also make a purchase, I got a nice little card, and it says on here, the Swan embodies grace, love, and serenity. Now, interestingly, so I first received the Swan palette, and I got this one, and I was like, oh, okay, Swan for Swan. When I received the Fox, I still got the same Swan card. I don't know if that's an accident or if that always comes. I was thinking maybe there'd be one bought the Fox. I don't know. But anyway, nevertheless, I thought the card was really cute. Like I said, you do not need to buy the gift box. Your palettes will come with the matching box, outer carton for your palettes, and you can mix and match. The one thing also about the Hourglass, just like you can mix and match the gift box, well, you can mix the packaging of the palette. So if you like the Swan packaging but you like the palette that's inside the Fox or deer, you can mix and match only on Hourglass. You cannot do that on Sephora. So you can mix and match. So like I said, if you like, I know I haven't been showing you what these look like, the Swan palette, but you prefer, let's say, the Fox covering, you could switch in and do either one. So there's the Swan and the Fox. Now right now on my face, I have the Fox on. Don't worry, I did use the Swan because, like I said, I got the Swan first. So I have a demo video and pictures of the Swan. And then today I used the Fox. I have a demo video for that. So you get to see me apply both palettes in action. And I'll have pictures of both, and I have definitely opinion of them both. before I get into the demo video, I just want to get this out the way. You know, obviously with the Hourglass in general, we already know. You know, I know, we all know. Like, the bronzers. Hourglass has never created a bronzer that can truly be used as a bronzer for anyone of my skin tone or deeper. I'm not oblivious. I'm not a fool. I know. So why do I keep buying them? I buy them because these bronzers, you know, like here, the bronzer you see in here, yes, it will not work for me as a bronzer, but these kinds of tones work beautifully for me as finishing powders, whether it be under eye, all over the face. And to be honest, the formula, what we love most about Hourglass is the formula. It has the most finely milled formula. It makes everything blurred and soft and beautiful. And so I think it's perfect as a finishing powder. So I don't mind that this does not work as a bronzer for me because I go in already with the intention of just using it as finishing powder. So that's why I am not bothered that the bronzer does not work as bronzer. So just giving you a heads up. So I will not call it a fail if the bronzer doesn't work as a bronzer because that was never my intention. You know, if in the future one day they choose to really make a shade that's deep enough to be a bronzer, I would gladly try it and I look forward for that chance. But to be honest, even if they do, which I'd love them to do, but I don't know, like, given this formula, like, would that replace any of my true bronzers that I use currently? Because I just think the formula is best to use as finishing powder, regardless of depth. But I wouldn't know because they haven't given me the chance to try it as bronzer, right? But the point is, what I'm saying is, you know, on the back, they will label what the shade names are, but also they will label them what they, you know, highlighter, blush, finishing powder, bronzer. I take these labels as recommendations. Okay. Sometimes, yes, you say blush, I'll use it as blush. But I'm sorry. Sometimes your blush is going to be highlighter for me. Sometimes your bronzer is going to be finishing powder for me. I will use it as I see fit, as I think it's best, will work best for me. So a palette will not be a fail for me because it didn't work as the label says. All I care about is that it shows up on my skin, I don't look ashy, and I find a useful role for it. So as long as you fit those three criteria, then I'm happy. But if you don't check off all three of those boxes, then I will call this a fail. So just giving you a heads up that when I give you my evaluation of these palettes, and I do have some thoughts about these palettes, that's kind of my criteria. And I now own 6 of these Hourglass palettes. So I'll bring out my old ones as well, and I'll let you know how I think these palettes compare to those. So watch these demo videos, and then we're gonna get a little bit closer and have a discussion. All right, my complexion is done, and we're gonna go into the Swan palette. I have to tell you, I'm nervous. It's probably a big mistake for me getting this, but I'm taking the risk. This is the medium palette. I normally buy the deep, but we're gonna try this. We're gonna see what we could do with it. I don't have much hopes for that, but I'm really more want to see if the blushes are gonna show up on my skin tone. I didn't do my eyes yet just because I'm not sure if this is gonna turn out to be more of a no makeup look or true full makeup look, because depending on the intensity of the blushes. So I'm gonna start with blush first. You'll see me, I'll try to attempt to incorporate all 3 into the look. I feel good about the highlighter, you'll see that, and I will use this as finishing powder. I'll see if this could maybe add some brightness to the under eye. We'll see about that one, but let's just really see, particularly this bottom row. Do these blushes, will they show up on me? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with more the mid-tone shade. I think this is the lightest, this is mid-tone, and this is the deepest. I'm going to start with the mid-tone shade in the apples of my cheek. Now that's just one layer. I'm going to build it up. But I see a little something there, a little something. Now with this one, I think this might be better as a topper, maybe even highlighter. But just to fully test this out, I'm actually gonna put this one on the balls of my cheek on this side, and then I'll go back and combine the two of them to even out both sides. Then later I'll do the mauve a little bit more at the higher point or on top. We'll see, we'll make it work. So let's see what this one's giving. This is, I know you can't appreciate it in person. It's not really showing up as blush, but actually it's almost like highlighter. It's actually giving me a glow. Yeah, I'm gonna switch to the other end of the brush, and I'm gonna almost place it more like highlighter. I don't know if you'll be able to appreciate this, but let me put it on this. Hope you can appreciate better here. It's actually prettier and works better on my skin tone, more like a soft highlighter or like blush topper kind of thing, but as a highlighter. So I'm gonna put the coral on this side, and then we'll get into the mauve. I hope you can appreciate the two blushes on my cheeks. We're gonna go in mauve. I'm switching brushes since this should be deeper, I think. And I'm gonna put it more, how do that? High cheeks. You know, and obviously it's gonna be hard to fully appreciate this because now I got 3 different blushes on here, but I hope you can appreciate the more mauve tone up higher. Okay, so I turned off the ring light just to try to give you more natural lighting look, and I hope you can appreciate the blushes. So I have all 3 on my face. I would say it shows up. It's very light, of course, and I would hope and assume the deeper Fox palette will show up even deeper, and we will try that out. But I will say it actually still does show up. It's very light, it's very soft, but I do like the tones, and it's a beautiful glowy blush look. You can see and I use the orange one more like a highlighter, coral here, and mauve over here. All right, ring light is back on because we're gonna really amp up the bling bling. Now we're gonna use the true highlighter. Ho 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 ho. I think I'm gonna have to spread this. I'm gonna apply it very lightly and try to apply some of it on both sides. So let me, before I really brush this in, I hope you can see that. Oh my God. Okay, I need to spread this out. I put too much on my brush. Hold on. I need to put some in other areas. I'm gonna take my blush and I'll work it all out. But yeah, beautiful highlighter. This does show up on me. It's gorgeous. I'm gonna add some more blush just because I don't want just this big strip of highlighter. And I just figured, actually, let me switch up brushes. I was using the Hourglass because it's the Hourglass, but I just want to try other brushes. I think it's important to use a dense brush, particularly for this, if you're my skin tone, because this is light. So a denser brush will apply it better. So if you apply with a dense brush, you'll get better pickup. So, oh, it's cute. Let's even go into the mauve shade and just add a little bit more of that over here. See that? Over here. So, you know, it'd be interesting. I know it's tough when I'm mixing multiple blushes, but they all work together really well. So I think the coral and the mauve, it's a gorgeous mix. Now that we got the blush and highlighter situated, no, I will not use this as bronzer. I'm not even gonna try it. That's not what it's for. This is finishing powder, okay? Finishing powder. So I'm going into my normal brush that I use this finishing powder. I'm gonna use it under the eyes, in my T-zone here. It's always tough for you guys to appreciate a finishing powder. I can only on camera, but it's beautiful formula as a finish. Now I might really be crazy for this. I'm gonna put a little bit because maybe this is more like just to provide some brightening. Okay, so I hope you can appreciate it. It did provide some brightening under the eyes, and I'm just also looking off camera. I don't think it looks crazy. Just looking to see some ash. So if you can use it just to provide a little bit more brightening under the eyes, you can do that. So I think I actually pulled that off somehow. I'm gonna put something, do an eye look, put something on the lips, and then I'll show you the final look. All right, so here's the finished look, eye look, the newest Pat McGrath on the eyes, on the lips. I got some sample lip products. I mixed a couple of shades and put a brown liner. But yes, here's the Hourglass on the cheeks and, you know, finishing off the complexion. I actually think the look actually worked out. I'm so thankful that these blushes actually show up on me. Okay, gonna use the Fox palette for the first time. Once again, complexion is done, but nothing else. So here's the plan. What we're gonna do is go into the blushes first. I'm gonna first start with the lightest blushes and put them on the balls of my cheek. On one side, I'm gonna use this shade. On this side, I'm gonna use this shade. I'm gonna tell you off the bat, just from past experience with these kind of blushes, they normally do not show up on me, but we're gonna try it anyway. And then I will go on the high point of the cheek with this one, and then I will balance out both sides so everything is nice and even. Finishing powders, I will use this probably under my eye and all over the face, and the highlighter in a typical highlighter fashion. So that's the plan. We'll see if things change as I see how the application goes, but that's the plan. So let's get started. Okay, I've also turned off the ring light just to try to get you to see it more in natural lighting. Blush, highlighter. I know it's always tough to appreciate finishing powder, but yeah, the softness, the blurriness that this provides is beautiful. And since this clearly does not work as blush at all, let's just try it to see if it provides some brightening under the eyes. So I'm gonna put this here, and then I'll also turn off the ring light in a second. It's always tough to do finishing powders because I feel like cameras don't like show you, you know, what it really does. Let me turn off the ring light. Well, at least I will say it's not ashy looking, and it does apply beautifully. You know, I was originally gonna go do a quick eye look off camera, but let's just try. These are they're not advertised as eyeshadow, but let's just do a very soft eye look, see if we can pull something off with these. We'll just try. So I'm gonna go into the bronzer and use this in my transition. So it's a nice soft brown shade, very similar to my skin tone. So it's not something that's gonna provide a lot of depth, but just a nice soft color. Since the bronzer didn't bring too much pigmentation and depth to the eyes, let's actually go into this plum shade in the transition. Let's just see if this works out, no promises, but I just wanna bring some color, some more warmth to this look. So I'm actually gonna put this in my transition, and that's actually nice. Because like I said, that quote unquote bronzer is too close to my skin tone, too soft, that I just need some color. So there, so some soft, warm, purpley, plummy tone to the transition. Let's see, maybe try this on the lid. Let's see what happens. A soft tone, but it's kind of like a soft salmon kind of tone. Let's put the highlighter in the inner corner. Whew. That's the one thing. Their powders are always so soft, but their highlighters be showing out. I got sample lipstick from them. Foxglove, I don't know. First time trying this lipstick, so I got a little sample. I did put a brown liner on, Lisa Eldridge, just so you know. But let's just try their lipsticks. I've never tried it before. Very creamy. Cute. This is actually kind of cute. It gets like creamy, not too creamy. It is pigmented. Might just fix up with my lip liner a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty. All right, so this is the final look. I did go on and add an outside bronzer, Flower Homidi. That's what I've been using these days mainly. But this is the final look. Let me turn off the ring light once again so you can see it in natural lighting. Hope you can appreciate the glow and blurred smoothing effect of the finishing powders and highlighters, and then the softness of the blushes. So this is what we're looking at, especially I'm using a low coverage foundation. So especially given the kind of foundation I use, you can really see the effects of the powders. But anyway, so that is the final look. Let's get together and let me tell you what I think about this Fox palette. And I'm also going to talk to you about the Swan palette and tell you the pros and cons when it comes to this powders for anybody of my skin tone. See you on the other side. Right, so I hope you found the demo videos helpful. So let's break this down. Let's first start with the Swan. Because, you know, you might have been the most curious about this or the most intrigued by this, because I was. Like, I know you're thinking, like, why would I pick the Swan? Here's the deal. Like, even before trying them out, the reason why I was so attracted to the Swan is this row. I looked at these blushes and I just particularly love the tone and shade choices of the blushes. I did have my reservations, would they have the depth to show up on me, but I like the tones of these. And so I was willing to take the risk. Just something in my heart felt like I might be able to make these work. So now after using it and you got to see it in action, what are my final thoughts? You know what? I actually like the palette. I know, it's crazy. Okay, here's the deal. So number one, the thing that I was most excited for probably was this blush. And with that being said, let me pull out the Fox, because that's the issue with both of them. What I was so excited about this year was that they gave us these mauve plum blushes, and they were in both palettes. If you know me, I love mauve, plum, purple blushes. And so when they both had it, I wanted them both. Now, to compare the two, what I would say is this shows up on me. So number one, check. The one thing I will say, especially even a little bit compared to the Fox, but just in general, as plummy as this may look, purpley looks in the pan, it comes off more of a pink on me, but a beautiful pink, but it comes off more of a pink on me. So just keep that in mind. If you're my skin tone and you want to get this, just know it's going to come off more pink than purple, but it's beautiful and it shows up well. This one, I like the tone of it, and it actually was really beautiful, buildable. It showed up on me well. And together they work together well. So they both have a pink tone to it. It's just this is more pinky coral and this is more pinky mauve. But they're both pinky on me and they both work together separately. Beautiful. I had my most reservations about this one. It looks beautiful in the pan, but I was worried by my swatch. It will go over the swatches, but when I had swatched them ahead of time, when I was seeing reviews, I started questioning, could I pull this off? And you probably could tell from the video, but so this does not work as blush. I'm giving you a heads up. It's labeled as a blush. If you are my skin tone, this will not work. I'm sure for those with fair, medium skin tones, this shows up as a blush, but it does not show up as a blush on me at all. But thank God, this works as a highlighter, a beautiful highlighter. As I applied it in my face, I was like, okay, I'm not getting pigment, but I'm getting a glow. I'm getting highlighter. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And so using this as a soft highlighter, I loved it. And I probably could use it as a top. I used it truly as a highlighter that day. But I could see how like this could be a beautiful blush topper to like this one. But on its own, it's a gorgeous highlighter. And then the true highlighter truly works. This is more going to have a little more bling bling to it. But it looks beautiful on my skin. I don't think it looked ashy or anything like that. So for me, this row in the middle is highlighter. They look beautiful separate and they look beautiful together. So you could do this first and put it on top or do them separately. So for my opinion, you got two beautiful blushes, pink tone. You have two beautiful highlighters. And this shade works well as finishing powder for me, as I expected. Now this is the one that I knew, that was the one thing buying this palette, I already knew off the bat, I was like, I can't use this. I was already buying this going, this is going to be a throwaway shade for me. Now, what I will say is my bestie, who is of medium skin tone, she was just like, why don't you just try to see if you could use this still as finishing powder for providing brightness? I was like, okay, I'm scared. I'm real scared, but I was like, I'm gonna try it. So I first put this on first, but then I did put this on top, and it actually did provide some brightening, and most importantly, it didn't make me look ashy. So, like, it wasn't the complete bust as I assumed, because I wasn't even gonna try it. I'm gonna just tell you, I wasn't even gonna give it a chance. Like, so is this going to be a shade that I'm going to be gravitate to using a lot? No, you know, wouldn't be shocked that I completely ignore this going forward. But at the same time, actually, it was good that I tried it because now I know actually I can use this on top of this or mix these two together, and it actually will it will bring some brightness under my eyes and won't look ashy or crazy. I didn't get any funny flashbacks in my pictures or anything like that. So this palette worked out for me better than I had thought. Okay. So now let's talk about the Fox palette. All right, so this is the one that is meant for deep skin tone. So I should have no issues with this palette. Here's the thing. As much as I was worried about the Swan, I had some concerns about Fox even before trying it. Specifically this one, because, and I will show you when I show you my other palettes I already own. I have another palette, I think Tiger, that has a shade like this. And I had a horrible experience with that, that this does not show up at all on me. So I already, as much as you might be like, oh my God, how could you buy Swan because this shade is gonna be a throwaway shade for you? Well, I was buying Fox knowing, to be honest, this was gonna be a throwaway shade for me. Just saying. So I already kind of knew like neither palette was going to be necessarily perfect for me and my skin tone. Neither one. But nevertheless, you know what? I love the formula. I am so excited for this shade. Hello, it's the D palette. I'm going to buy it. So, beautiful shade. Once again, I'm just happy that for the first time we're getting more plummy toned shades. I'll show you the other Hourglass palettes I own, but I have nothing that like this from Hourglass. So that's why I was just excited for both palettes. This does look beautiful. I put it up here. Recognize these are Hourglass. So the level of pigmentation is, you know, it's just a different vibe. It's beautiful. Beautiful tone, and I hope you can appreciate this. I will say compared to the Swan, it is a little bit more plummy, a little, gives you a little more purple compared to the Swan, which truly comes out more of a pink to me. Now here's the thing, here's the other blush. To be honest, I was very curious, but I was a little concerned about it too, because you can see in the pan, it's a very muted shade. So I put that on the balls of my cheeks, and I was able to build it up to a degree, but just giving you a heads up, I know this is the deep palette, but this is a very, first off, just a muted color, and it's not that deep in terms of depth. I think it's a beautiful shade. I think it especially would be beautiful on a day that, like, let's say I'm doing more of a no makeup look, I'm running out the door, but I want to have a natural flush to my cheeks. I would put this all over my cheeks and it would be a beautiful natural flush to the cheeks. But this is not the most pigmented blush. So for this to be the deep, I'll say, actually, to be honest, if you compare this shade to this shade, if I remember correctly, it's been a couple of days since I used this, but this showed up more on me. This popped on me where this was soft, but beautiful, beautiful. So it works. These two do work as blushes. You know, it'd be cool in the future for me to just use this blush or just use this one, but I wanted to use both. But you can see, and I worked hard to build them both up. They're buildable, but you know, you can, you know, it's, for these, you do have to kind of build them up a little bit. You'll notice I was switching brushes. I initially started with the Hourglass brushes. I'm like, hey, it's Hourglass, I'll use your brush. And it showed up, but I actually then switched over to one of my Chanel brushes, which is a really dense brush, just to really like try to build up the shade. So they're buildable, they're very beautiful. They show up, but like, don't get too like hung up on that this is the deep palette, that like all of a sudden you're gonna have this like really bright tone blush on your cheeks. Just saying. Now I was always gonna be happy about these two. My intention was always to use this as an under eye powder, and this is like an overall powder as finishing powders, not as bronzers, and they work. This is beautiful highlighter. Highlighters always work with Hourglass, no matter what. I've never had issues. You can see I'm glowing. I probably put a little bit too much on my nose, but you can see how like I am glowing beautifully. So this highlighter definitely shows up and shows out. This didn't show up on me at all, as expected. I tried it as a blush just for y'all. It didn't work. Then I was like, you know what? Just like I did with that light finishing powder in the last palette, maybe I can put that under eyes to provide some brightness. I think actually, yeah, I think it might have brought some brightness and more glow to under my eyes. So if you're cool with glow, it brought some brightness and glow to under the eyes. So I was able to find a role for it, but would that be my go-to role? You know, so that's what I'm saying, like, before you get too excited about the Fox palette, just giving you a heads up. I love them both, happy to have them both, but they're not perfect palettes. So with that said, let me break out my other palettes and let me tell you what I think compared to the other palettes, both in depth and tone to the previous palettes that I own. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out, I think this came out last year, the Lotus palette. This palette probably is the deepest, I got all the deeps, but out of all the deep palette, this is the deepest, I will say, out of all the palettes. Okay? And so when we got excited last year that they came out with this, rightfully so, we came out with this palette that was the deepest deep palette we've received. I will say this Fox palette, although beautiful, is a step back. No, we're not moving forward, we're stepping back in terms of depth. So let me pull out the Fox again, and I'm gonna put the Lotus right next to each other so you can see them side by side. So Lotus, Fox. So you can, I think you can appreciate, these are deeper. You know, this might be my favorite, you know, just because I'll say it's the most complete. As someone who is of a deeper skin tone, this is one where every shade hits, no major issues. This is great as all over powder to set my bronzer. This is great shade. So I will use this to set my bronzer. So even though I won't use it as bronzer, it's great to set my bronzer. So this is the deepest we've had in these palettes. This works well under the eye. These are beautiful tones as blushes. So you're getting kind of mauve-y pink, kind of like this year, but it's just this year they went more mauve. These highlighters both work on me, and what's great is that they look beautiful separate, but they look beautiful together. So I will usually combine both of these as highlighter. This blush, I will say, is it shows up, but it's very soft. So I tend to use this when I'm doing more of a no makeup look, and then when I'm doing a more bolder look, use this one. But it's nice that we have options like a light blush, a dark blush, a light finishing powder, a darker finishing powder, golden highlighter, and a deeper pink highlighter, but they all work. So in comparison to the Fox, you know what? I think Fox Lotus is going to win. But let's just compare the two deepest blushes on these two palettes just to see the tone difference for the mauve pinks. Okay, I hope you can appreciate this. These are the two blushes. See what I'm saying? This is Lotus. See how much deeper that is compared to Fox? So I appreciate that Fox is giving me a more plummy tone, but the depth is with Lotus. So that's the one thing that just kind of saddens me a little bit. You gave me the right tone that I've been seeking for, but you stepped back on the depth. You stepped back. Hopefully you can appreciate this too. I took the two deepest bronzers from both palettes. This is Lotus. This is Fox. Fox is basically my skin tone. So this I can only use as definitely finishing powder. This one, like, actually, you know, like I said, I could actually possibly pull it off. That's the closest I could pull off to bronzer. So if I was in a pinch, I could make that work. Like I said, it's just that I just feel like the formula lends itself more to being a finishing powder. But if I was in a pinch, I could use the one from Lotus kind of as a bronzer if I was doing a natural look and I needed just something to run out the door with. But you see what I'm saying? Lotus, they kind of gave us a bronzer. They were like this close. This year, step back. They did a step back. And I'm going to show you, I just went off camera, just went ahead and just swatched some more, most of the shades from the Lotus and the Fox side by side. With each pairing, you will see Lotus on the left and Fox on the right. And you can see each comparable shade, Lotus is deeper, pretty much in every category. So just giving you heads up, the Fox is nice, but is not our deepest shade. So before you get too excited about Fox, just giving you heads up. Now, Lotus is truly one of my favorites. It's the deepest. But I will say, one of my other major favorites, especially before Lotus came, but even still now, I still really love this one, is the Snake. I love this one in particular because of these. I like these coral shade. I just love the shade of this. And I'm able to use all these shades. They're all usable to me. So Lotus, they did really well with both Lotus and the Snake because it gave me tones that I can use everything. And it was at that time a unique tone to have the coral. Now with that being said, you know, I'm just thinking back to the Swan. I loved it not just because of this shade, but I loved it for this coral. So let's just compare this one coral shade to now the Tiger, the Snake has several coral shades. I'll still swatch them all, but I'll just show you the comparison. Okay. I'm also gonna just, I just did them off camera. I'm gonna show you the swatches. So the first swatch you're gonna see on the left is actually from the Swan palette. So this one. And then the next two is gonna be this one, then this one. So you can see that the bottom coral shade from the Snake is much deeper. So I will say this shade is very similar to this shade. This shade is deeper than this shade. And then I decided to swatch this one and this one because they're kind of more like highlighter topper shades. This one is from the Snake is definitely much deeper than this one. To be honest, a lot of times, like I said, this actually works really well as a blush topper. And this one probably would be best just as a straight up highlighter. But they're both beautiful. But yeah, I will say, if you're just buying it just for this shade, if you already have the Snake, this one can probably satisfy that same role. So just giving you a heads up. All right, going back another year, we're now going to go to Tiger. So this is a lot more unique. These are really true like orange tone. This is a true like orange tone blush and highlighter. So where everything else has been leaning more coral, pink. This is a true orange. So I'm not gonna compare the blushes because I think it's just really different. What I'm gonna just compare for you, just for the hell of it, the shades that I hate the most. This one that is from Tiger, which, like I said, the issue is I know they're mixing two different powders, but there's more white than there is any of that red tone. So this shade, as you can see, they call it a blush. This is not a blush. That is way too white for me to call a blush. And so that's why when I saw this, I was like, uh-oh, this is in Fox. So I'm going to swipe as well. Yes, there's a mix, but there's a lot more white than there is. Now, I will say, in comparison to the Tiger, I'm happy it comes off less white. So yeah, like these are not blushes at all. These are not highlighters. Could you use it under the eye to provide some brightness? At least this one is not as stark red. I'm a stark white. So if I had to use either under the eye for brightness, and then I'm between the two, I prefer the Fox one over this one. I could do without either shades, but at least it's less white than the Tiger because that was ridiculous. I guess since I went through all the rest of the palettes, I'll just quickly show you the OG Universal palette. Now, with that being said, as you can see, I hit pan on this one. So the bronzer, like I said, I used it during the pandemic as my finishing powder, and I loved it. And then even when I used this one up, I started moving towards this one. It still worked for me. It was more brightening, but I still made it work. I didn't ever bother touching this white one. That one I didn't bother. This highlighter is definitely icy, a little bit icy, but actually I was able to make it work. These two blushes are super soft. Like, they barely show up. But they worked if I was trying to do more of a natural look. I'm just going to swatch these because it kind of reminds me, in terms of, let's see, the orange one, it kind of reminds me of the orange one in the Swan. So I'm going to swatch that. So it's kind of similar to that. So, like I said, it actually looks beautiful as a highlighter. There's a little bit more of a shine to it than this one. Not super shiny, but there's still more glow to this one than even this one. So this looks beautiful as a highlighter. And then actually I'm going to swatch this salmon shade because this is that kind of like no makeup look, kind of blush. Now this is more of a salmon terracotta shade where this is more of a pink, but they have that same similar depth that I would only use this if I was doing a no makeup look. If I already had a real blush from somebody else and I was just touching up and just adding just to top it off kind of a thing. Yeah. So to sum all that up, I know this is, I think, a pretty in-depth Hourglass review. So to sum up these two palettes, if you are of my skin tone, I will say the Fox palette is cute. I do like my look. Even my eye, you know, it's not an eyeshadow. I'm purposely doing a soft look. But in the end, I actually do like my overall look. I love the formula. My skin, it looks beautiful and blurred. Especially, I used a very low coverage foundation. And so for me to still look blurred like this, is a tribute to the formula. Like I said, this is a step back from Lotus in terms of depth. I love that they gave us this tone, which is new to the line, so I'm thankful for that. I wish this was deeper, but still pretty. This I could do without. These are nice, but these could be deeper for a deeper palette, to be honest. Yeah, it's nice that this is the palette. Supposedly 5 out of these 6 shades are new. With the only one being old was this one. Once again, why this isn't any deep palettes, so unnecessary. We could do without that one. I appreciate all the new shades, but like I said, I appreciate most this blush. These are all fine, but we could go deeper. I mean, the highlighter and the blush are great. The finishing powders in this blush are nice, but we could always go deeper. And the surprise for me is that the medium, especially given this wasn't meant for me, I actually like. What's crazy, I actually might like this one better than the Fox. And the only reason is just because I'm most excited about the blushes. So I don't want to be, you know, this is not perfect and it wasn't meant for me, but they're beautiful. These 2 blushes are gorgeous. I know they're more pink tone, but they're gorgeous. This surprisingly works as a beautiful highlighter as this. This is kind of equivalent to the under eye finishing powder in the other palette. Yes, I could do without these, but these blushes are actually really pretty. In terms of what's new is the 3 blushes, which is what I'm most attracted to, and also the highlighter, which I actually like. These are old, and I guess this is a typical, that's probably seen a million times over in medium or fair palettes. I've never bought one before, but I believe especially like dim light. I think these are ones that are normally found in these kinds of palettes. So they're actually kind of new to me, but not new to the line. But I was especially excited for the blushes, and actually I was pleasantly surprised with the blushes. The thing is, I've never bought medium palettes from before, so I don't know how it has been in the past. But what I'm going to say about this year is the depth level difference between medium and deep ain't that deep this year. I can't say the deep palette is that much deeper than the medium. There might be certain shades where I could say, okay, this one's deeper in the deep palette, but then there's going to be certain shades that I might say, you actually might be more pigmented in the Swan, or they're equal. So that's why it's hard for me to even tell you like which palette to pick. I think you got to make your decision based on what you already have in your collection, what shades and tones you like the most, how you see yourself using the palette to help you make the distinction. Because we're like probably like last year Lotus, no question, Lotus's depth was so much greater that I would highly recommend Lotus for anybody of my skin tone. This year, Swan, Fox, I'm not sure it's that huge of a difference. You know, you might even say this ain't even the year to pick up. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm happy to have both, but I just think the difference between medium and deep ain't that deep. At this rate, you might as well have fair, medium, deep, and dark deep. I don't know what to tell you, but just saying, deep ain't that deep. She cute, but she ain't that deep. I'm not saying you need to buy both, and I'm not even going to tell you which one to buy. Which one do you buy? I don't know. You know, you have to decide for yourself. I hope this video was helpful. There's pros and cons of both. Maybe if you look at what you already have, you might realize maybe you don't need neither of them. I don't know. Just giving you heads up of the pros and cons of both. Being the makeup lover that I am, I'm happy to have both. But there's pros and cons of both. But believe it or not, I love the blush look that I came up with these. Like, I love the mix of all 3 of these blushes that I really love this one. This one, like I said, it kind of disappointed me a little bit. I wanted a little bit more oomph from a deep palette, just saying. But love them. So yeah, hopefully this helps as you make your decision making, especially as it's going to be dropping soon in Sephora. Right now I'm going to link on my page, on this video, the link for the Hourglass link, but once I I'll put the Sephora link in there as well, but just know you can't buy from Sephora until the 16th. So just giving you a heads up to wait a couple days. If you're kind enough to use my links, I do make a commission if you use my links, but you do not have to use my links. Just watching this alone, I'm thankful. It is free to subscribe to my channel, so if you made it this far to you know, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. If you aren't already following me on Instagram, please do. That's where I post the most and where I usually post ahead of time, so you've already seen these looks. But otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye!